Very good morning to everyone. So today we will going to do the first chapter of economics of class 9, and the chapter is the story of village Palampur. So basically what happened is when we go through the first beginning of the chapter, right, it talks about how this particular imaginary village, right, so-called Palampur, has, let's say, different kind of activities going on, right? Let's say in terms of agriculture and the upcoming manufacturing industries, right? So when we say industry, then that doesn't mean the huge industry. So it is a very small industry, which we normally say cottage-based industry or small-scale manufacturing industries. So before we proceed, right, I just want to give you a brief overview of this chapter. So in this chapter in Palampur, maximum, right, a number of people, right, they are engaged in agriculture. So as we know in India, right, being an agriculture country, so in Palampur also, maximum number of people are engaged in agriculture. And there are few people, right, who belongs to upper caste and they possess big piece of land, and there are at the same time the poor or the small farmers, right. And if we talk about the connectivity of Palampur with other districts or the other towns, then it is well connected with a network of transportation. And at the same time, we need to understand that in Palampur you can come across different houses, the structure of houses, right? Some of the houses belonging to the upper caste are well, let's say, built by using bricks and cementing plastering, right? And whereas you will also come across the small huts, right, and which are made up of, let's say, mud or straws. So the village Palampur itself, right, has a wide varieties of people or community, right, belonging to different castes. All right. And most of the people are, as I said, engaged in agriculture. So without wasting much time, let's proceed with the chapter, right? So first and foremost, right, what we're going to cover in this topic is, let's say, the basic concept relating to production, organization of production, and requirements of production. Then we'll talk about farming in Palampur, and at the same time, in the last part, we will go to discuss about non-farming activities in Palampur. So first, let's talk about why we need to study, or let's say why this chapter or the concept is related or taught through a medium of story. Because see, if we have to study economics, right, and first and foremost, right, the basic thing that we need to understand is the process, right? The process through which any commodity or any product comes in the market, right? So it has to go through a wide varieties of process, right? So basic concept relating to production. So organization of production requirements let's say if I need to manufacture this pen, right, so it is not, although it's a finished product, but it has came through a lot of process, right? The requirements of production in the farming in Palampur the concept in factors of production, right? So when we talk about factors of production, right, we first and foremost we need land. Then when it comes to land, natural resources, let's say water, right? Water, forest also comes in the first requirement for the production process. And second one is labor. Ta 저기 미야 다 내가 지금 와신가나 가시 그대로서는 프랑스 사자 준주 여기서 프랑스 남미 되게 돼요. 싱가 오야다 싱가 뮤게 다나 소바 세방가야 소바 되게 나고 이마이는 사실 가시 최고거든요, 여러분. 옛날에야 미 무슨 남미 짬기라니 내가 상황을 처음에 했다. 소다 아니 내가야 저기 Milai, so we have to hire labor. So when we talk about labor, then we have two categories. So the first one is we have educated or skilled labor. Skilled now, manual labor. Manual labor. So when we say skilled labor, then that means that those are the people who are, let's say, technically, let's say, very aware of handling technology that are used in, let's say, farm. And they have a skill, right? They have a knowledge to handle technologies, right? Machines, right? To operate them in the field. And whereas at the same time we do have manual workers, right? Who lacks, let's say, the manual workers normally does lots of manual workforce. So they normally lack the skills and knowledge, right? And at the same time, we have physical capital. Physical capital, so physical capital, there are two factors or two categories. One is we call as fixed capital, and another one we call as a working capital. So we say working capital. Oh yeah. Today, let's say physical capital. So this is another requirement for the process of production, and at the same time, this is the overall is called as a factor of production. So when we say physical capital, we have two categories. That is fixed capital, and we have working capital. So let's discuss about the fixed capital. Fixed capital is a requirement, right? Or let's say if a farmer, right, invests in buying machineries, right? Tractors, let's say, tools, right? So these are the items, or these are the two things, right, which can be used for a longer duration of time, right? And whereas when we talk about working capital, then that means when you buy, let's say, raw materials, right? If you are engaged in agriculture, then definitely your raw material for your agriculture product comes as a seed, right? Manure, it comes as fertilizer, pesticides, isn't it? Water facilities, right? And at the same time, we should remember that in the working capital, this is also very important. Money in hand. So that means if you look closely, the difference between the fixed capital and the working capital is just a matter of the duration, right? Durability of a particular product. Let's say fixed capital, you invest in buying inputs such as, let's say, tractors, tools, which you can use it for a longer duration of time. But whereas in the working capital, it means that you are investing on something which is needed time to time, right? Continuously. And money in hand, so whenever you come across any need, any requirements, then you should have some savings in your hands so that you can invest to spend that during the time of need. And the last one, the fourth requirement is human capital. So this is very important, right? Without which all these factors are not, let's say, useful, or this is the factor which makes this or other factors in practice or in use, right? So whereby we end up with a finished product at the end. So human capital, we have, let's say, mostly we talk about skills and knowledge. Okay, so when we say human capital, then it means a resource or human resource, right, where a human possesses certain skills and knowledge, and that in that way he or she is contributing towards economy, right? So then we call it as a human capital. So what we came to know, what we have learned so far is factors of production includes land, where we talk about water and forest. Then labor we have two categories, that is skilled labor as well as manual workers. Third is physical capital, then we have fixed, we have working capital, and at the same time money in hand. And last, the fourth requirement, that is human capital. So when we say human capital, then we are talking about the skills, the knowledge that particular person or the individual possess, so that he can let's say put forward, right, to contribute towards economy of the country. Okay. So the next thing that we're going to learn is every production, right? Let's say, when do we say production takes place? Every production is organized by combining land, labor, capital, and human skill and knowledge. So when we say human skill and knowledge, then we are talking about human capital or human resource. So without which it is not possible. So it's very clear that every production, 또 시식이 아주 좋은데 사자치 미 하노에 레가치니스와 소바다 가지고 즉 벤조를 가지고 벤조 거는 시원다 가지고 미기다 도다서 미고랑 인터페어와 미고랑 판데 고랑이 되잖아 이게 표시다는 수준치에. So this is the first thing, right? And the second thing, I took Sajala and I took Chitan take Gazur, Salad take Chitan hectare. So I took Hala 1 hectare, the Kazures, 1 hectare is equals to 100 meters square, right? Square, you know, showing that's short is about 100 meters, right? These are short, 100 meters, you square, 1 hectare, those are those units. Also, so now what we learn is land is fixed. Palampur chasha unala saja yogyushurba. This saja din manu beshema saja din chair utara din yomar. Chita no khara what we know is land, right? It is stagnant, right? Whatever land you possess, that will be remain, right? Of that size only. So area under cultivation is fixed. Then wasteland has been converted into cultivable land since 1960s. So since the land under cultivation was very limited and fixed, now people what they started to do is like they started to bring those land, right, wasteland under cultivation, cultivable land. Then no scope for increase in farm production by bringing new lands under cultivation. These are mando that delay such a judge such a saba into Taver than junior. Yes, oh yeah. This show is there any way one can grow more from the same land? Tablam Yurman, Tavanto Harshia Banana, such a you get a Madobe delay, Gatchel Tana to get in those. Oh yeah. So when we came to know that land is fixed, so is there any way so that we can grow more? Right? Yes. You're right. The thing is, if you take an example of Palampur itself, right? So here people they are engaged in multi-cropping system. Oh, right. So when we say multi-cropping, that means in a one particular year, right? They grow different types of crops, right? In order to take maximum advantage of the land. So when, let's say, during the rainy season, right, which we normally say like Kharif season, right? So in Kharif season, what they used to do is in Palampur, people used to grow jowars and bajras, and they used to feed, right, their cattle, and we normally say foders, right? Then come back, then in the middle, they grow, let's say, potatoes, right, during the month of from October to December, right? Then at the third one is like during the winter season, which we call it as a rabi season, they used to grow wheat, right? And particular space, right, area is devoted for the cultivation of sugarcane, right? Sugarcane, from sugarcane they used to extract sucrose and they make gur, right? In Hindi it is called as gur and we call it jaggeries, right? So jaggeries, when they produce jaggeries, they used to sell it in the nearby market. All right. So here we knew that they used to grow. Let's say they used to grow these different varieties of crop in a year, so that means they are taking maximum advantage of the land and somehow they are able to meet their requirements or demand, needs, right? So this is called as multi-cropping, right? Multi-cropping, alright. Then we'll proceed further. Alright, so other than multi-cropping system, multi-cropping, right? What we need to understand is we can cultivate more on a particular land with the help of modern methods or the modern technologies, right? So I think everyone knows about Green Revolution. So it was a great breakthrough in terms of agriculture. It's introduced in India around like 1960s, where it mostly focuses towards increasing the yield of the crop. So Green Revolution, introduced in 1960s in India, and cultivation of wheat and rice was a prime focus, in this Green Revolution. Then, as we already know, rice are such crops, which requires huge amount of water, and in this Green Revolution, it also provides, it came up, let's say, with SherigVideo seeds. That means high yielding varieties of seeds. High yielding of varieties of seeds and so high yielding varieties of seeds now. So in this high yielding varieties of seeds, it facilitates or it provides high yield or turnover for the farmer. So when we say high yielding varieties of seeds, this all comes under the Green Revolution. Then we have water. That means this particular method is water intensive method in terms of agriculture. Then here in this method, people they use lots of chemical fertilizers, then pesticides, and even let's say machines, which are required for such method. So when we say machines, tractor, threshing machines, during the threshing season, we use threshing machines, So the machines mix. Even we have in order to extract water from underground, we use turbines, Before people used to rely on, let's say, the Persian wheel, Okay. Then when we say yield, so yield means a crop produced from a given piece of land during a single season. Such a chicken nalonia, loching nalola, don't know Hazuli Perso, the mound, condition mound on tablan big, Okay. So land distribution. So how lands are distributed in Palampur. So as I said in the beginning, that land distribution was very different, or let's say it was not equally distributed amongst the people. Some, let's say 100, although there were 450 families living in Palampur. We will take an example of 100 people, let's say. Around, let's say, 75%, land, let's say, 75% of land belongs to minority in terms of population, and the remaining is left with the majority. So that means it's very clear that the land is unequally distributed, amongst the people of Palampur. So that is why what happened was small scattered plots. So when we say small scattered plot, that means, let's say if a head of the family dies, and he bears 5 children, and before he died, let's say this is a land that he possessed. So right after his death, now these 5, let's say, children of the old man, they started to distribute, right, their land. All right. Okay. So in this way, even the small plot, right, gets fragmented because of the family, right? And it is not possible to, let's say, sustain their family from a small plot of land, isn't it? So that is why here it talks about small scattered plots, right, and sustain the land. So when we say sustain the land, right, how can we, let's say, make land to replenish or save the land, right, from green revolution, although we have lots of demerits of green revolution. Okay, so after this, like, we have labor, right? How was the condition of labor in Palampur, right? Types of labor. All right, so when we talk about labor, let's say, although there was abundance of laborers, right, in Palampur, but it was very hard, right? It was very hard at the same time due to the lack of skills, right? And it says abundant, right, hard work and manual input. So the labor need to have to do lots of hard work when it comes to inputs, right? Then tractors for plowing, yes, these are required, most importantly if you are following the modern method of agriculture. Harvesters for harvesting and threshers for threshing. Right? So before that, we'll talk about labor, as we already discussed in the beginning, right? Labor, we have two types, right? One is skilled labor. Skilled, another one is manual, right? Manual labor and skilled labor, all right. So what happens is when we do agriculture, right, by adopting or using the modern method or with the help of green revolution, then we call it as a modern egg farming. Modern farming. All right. So we will say we call it as a modern farming. So we just came across what are the modern farming and multi-cropping, right? Then what happens? Laborers, right? How they get paid? So some of them gets cash, paid in cash, in terms of cash, and some of them paid in terms of kind, and some in terms of meals, right? Then we'll come across problem, right, with the landless farmers employees. The labor now mixing on. So there are, like, let's say, like small, right? Small farmers. At the same time, there are medium farmers, right? Or we call it as a large farmers. Small farmers and the large farmers, right? What they do is, like, they face, if you talk about the small farmers, right? They face lots of problems, right? What in terms of, let's say, labor. So in laborers, right? The duration, right? It varies from, let's say, small farmers and the rich farmers. When we talk about the laborers, right, and its employment, right? So some of them, right, gets paid or they get work for in terms of daily basis, right? And at the same time, there are few laborers, right, who gets employed only during a particular season, right? We call it as a seasonal unemployment or seasonal employment, sorry, right? So after this, what we need to understand is rich and the big, large farmers, right, and their investments, this what they do with their surplus. So we'll come to this again. So physical capital, right? Oh yeah. So we'll go to the previous one again. Sorry. Okay. So physical capital, small farmers, what they do now, right, in order to invest or in order to buy inputs, right? So small farmers normally they borrow money from, let's say, large farmers, money lenders, traders, and they end up, right, paying very high interest rate whenever they take loan from these people. So sometimes we call it as an informal, let's say, when we talk about terms of credit, then we talk about informal, let's say, terms of credit. Then in terms of, let's say, medium and large farmers, medium and large farmers normally they have like their own savings, right, which they can use it during the next season, sowing season. So farmers, small farmers, they face lots of problems, isn't it? And at the same time, we came across lots of news where it mentions about certain places, the farmers, they have suffered due to the loan repayment. They are unable to repay the loan on time, so that's why they, let's say, committed suicides and all, right? So at the same time, the medium and large farmers, they enjoy their, let's say, savings, and they invest it whenever it's required. So surplus produce either prepaying the loan and added savings. So what happens to the surplus, right? When we talk about small farmers, right, having a very small piece of land where they do agriculture, it is hardly, right, to sustain their family, right? Or let's say it is only for sustainable, let's say, sustainability of the family. And we use it, sometimes we also call it as subsistence farming. And then the medium and large farmers, right, what they do is they are able to satisfy their need, requirement, and the over, right, or let's say leftover is used, or excess is used to marginalize, or let's say to sell in the market. So when we say surplus and also khala excess level, excess level extra. So it talks about the extra or leftover, right, after fulfilling your own consumption need, let's say. So sell surplus produce, either repay loan or add savings. So here we are talking about the small farmers, right? What they do, they sell surplus to repay the loan which they have taken from the money lenders, or as I mentioned above, right? And add savings, buy equipment for farms, capital, non-capital farming activities. So here, right, medium and large farmers, what they do is with the surplus is they used to sell it in the market. Then what they do is, again, they will buy equipment for the farm. When we say equipment, then tractors, right, turbines, threshing machines, so they buy with this income, Then even sometimes they buy cattle, and sometimes they non-farming activities. Other than that, they invest in non-farming activities, and overall, non-farming activities fixed capital. As we have discussed in the previous slides, right? The things, the tools, the items that you can use for a longer duration of time is called as fixed capital. All right. Then we'll move to non-farming activities. So in Palampur, what happens is, although there are people who are engaged in farming activities, but at the same time, there are people who are engaged in non-farming activities. So see, if you are unable to meet your need or your family's need out of the land which you have, let's say, inherit, right, from your parents, right, then you obviously try to look for something else, right, from where you think that you can sustain, right. So some of the people in Palampur, they started to engage in non-farming activities. So when we say non-farming activities in Palampur, right, only 24% in the village people, right, are engaged in non-farming activities. And when we say non-farming, then we have dairy, which totally serves with the milk product. Then we have small-scale manufacturing, we have transportation service, then we have shopkeepers. Alright, so we'll go one by one. The first one, dairy. Dairy people in the Palampur, right, they feed their cattle with a good quality of grass, right, and during the winter season they also feed their cattle with jowar, bajra, right? So just to inculcate a good quality of milk or high quality of milk, so that they can sell it in a near by collection center, right, whereby they can earn some money. All right. Then in the small scale manufacturing, right? So when we say small scale manufacturing, then we are talking about industry, kind of industry where the number of people are very less, the number of employees are very less, right? And the product which is produced in that particular factory or industry are for the basic necessities, such as candles, soaps, right? Or as per the textbook, you will come across a story, right, where a marshal bought a sugarcane crushing machine, right, whereby he used to extract the gun and he used to sell it in the market. Wow. So small scale manufacturing, simple equipments, right? It involves simple equipments, right? And normally these industries are, let's say, located or found in home, right? Cottage or let's say Naraji right? So mostly like family, right? They does the work, right? They are involved in the production process. At the same time, they rarely hire labor. So that means since the industry itself is not so big or huge like the industry which we have, right, in urban areas, which we normally call as heavy industry, right? So it is not like those industry, but it is an industry which involves very less people, requires very less people. And next is transportation service. So transportation facilitates people, right, as well as goods, right, to move from one place to another place, to carry from one place to another place. So transportation service was also prevalent in village Palampur, right? Most of the people, they some of them used to buy cattle, right? Let's say buffalo, and they used to get milk. At the same time, they also used to use that buffalo in terms of transportation. Wow. And apart from that, we have, let's say, jeeps, we have tangas, right? We have rickshawalas, we have tractors, we have trucks. So all this were in Palampur. Wow. Now let's talk about shopkeepers. So shopkeepers, right? As we have mentioned, I mentioned before. In Palampur, some of the people, they possess very small piece of land whereby it was not possible for them to meet their family's requirement. So that is why now people, what they do is, even right, some of the, it depends upon the location of the particular house of the family. If let's say few people, right, who lives nearby the bus junction, right, or the railway junction, then they devote a space, right, for shop. Alright, and in village Palampur, what they used to do is, some of the shopkeepers, right, they used to go and buy things from wholesale shops, right, wholesale retailers, and they normally buy those necessary items, right, such as in village, we normally come across the shops consisting of selling a wide variety of items from like ration, toiletries and everything. Wow. So these are the few, let's say, non-farming activities that were prevalent in village Palampur. So we'll just go through the overview of this chapter. Since the story of the chapter is dependent upon the village Palampur, which is, as I said, imaginary or hypothetical village. Then we talked about factors of production. Factors of production, here we have three, right? And with the last fourth requirement of human capital: land, labor. Then we have physical capital. In physical capital we have two: fixed and working capital. And the most important is human capital. Then we talk about capital requirement. Save money for those medium and rich big farmers. And for the poor or the small farmers, they normally borrow money, right? And for the rich, they invest or save money. Whereas the small farmers, they normally end up repaying the loan amount. Then farming activities, we talk about multi-cropping, where you grow different crops in a year, right? And again, in a modern method, we have SYVS seeds, which especially here it's mentioning about the green revolution, right? SYVS fertilizers, pesticides, farm machineries, right? And modern method, irrigation facilities, dams, canal, pump sets also, when we use turbines in order to extract water and to irrigate our field, right? Non-farming activities we just discussed. Before that, we'll just talk about land distribution, uneven land distribution, right? It was small farmers, they don't have big piece of land. Medium farmers possess a big piece of land. Large farmers possess a big piece of land, right? And most of the people, some of them are laborers, are landless, such as right? Okay, then we will run towards non-farming activities. So non-farming activities was the last part of this chapter, and it talks about shops, manufacturing units. So that means the small-scale manufacturing industry. And the last one is marketing, right? We have transportation, isn't it? And we have some services, right? The doctors and the let's say taxi drivers. We have teachers. Everyone comes into service, but we have to discuss even more of this one. So this is the overview of the chapter 1, that is the story of village Palampur. So I hope you have understood, right, this topic, and I do suggest you guys to go through the stories, right, which are mentioned in your textbook. Villas, the story of Villas. So this story gives you a idea about this topic in relation with the story. So I do request every one of you to go through with the textbook once, right? And most importantly, you have to read those stories, the sources, right, which are given in your textbook, so that you can understand the chapter more effectively. Always have a good day. Thank you very much.